Amy, let me tell you about a magical place that is so exactly designed to be enclosed space, year-round fun for the whole family that I bet you already know what I'm going to say before I even say the name. Let's say it together on 3. 1, 2, 3. Great Wolf Lodge. You got it, Amy.
My kids loved Great Wolf Lodge when we went. You probably already know that it has a huge indoor water park with a wave pool, lazy river, a bunch of massive water slides. But then your pack can hit the other attractions because wait, there's more.
Great Wolf Lodge has adventure-packed attractions like Magi Quest, a live-action game kids can play throughout the lodge, plus the Northern Lights Arcade. Spent some quality time there, so your kid who loves the lazy river and your kid who loves fantasy games will both have a great time.
Great Wolf Lodge also offers great dining options and complimentary daily events like nightly dance parties, all under one roof. Unpack the car once and you're settled in to have fun. And with 22 lodges across the country, you're always a short drive away from adventure.
We've both had such great times at Great Wolf Lodge, so bring your pack together at a lodge near you. Learn more at greatwolf.com and strengthen the pack. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Fresh Take from the What Fresh Hell podcast. This is Margaret.
And this is Amy, and this week we are talking to Julie Lythcott-Haims. She's an author, speaker, and activist who believes in humans and is deeply interested in what gets in our way. She's the author of the anti-helicopter parenting bestseller, How to Raise an Adult. She's also the author of the memoir Real American, about her experience as a Black and biracial person in white spaces. She's a former corporate lawyer and Stanford dean who serves on the boards of Common Sense Media and leanin.org, among others. And her new book is Your Turn, How to Be an Adult. Julie says it's a compassionate beckoning into the freedoms and responsibilities of adulthood. Welcome, Julie.
Amy and Margaret, thank you so much for having me. It's great to be with you.
Thanks for being here.
Julie, you literally wrote the book on young adults who weren't ready for adulthood. And is it mostly our helicopter parenting that made those kids that way?
I think it might be, Amy.
We're to blame, right? We did it.
I'm certainly not blaming them. Let's put it that way. I'm not blaming them. If you don't know how to adult in the way, say, your parents or grandparents might have, it's not your fault. There's something about the milieu, the community, the way in which you were raised that has impeded your progress. And I'm here to root for such young adults to figure it out.
These young adults, we have people raising young adults, and we have a lot of moms listening who are themselves young adults. And so this idea of adulting, it's somewhere that you're heading for with your kids, and often as a middle-aged adult, still heading there as yourself.
Absolutely. It is most definitely a mindset, adulting. It's, we can say and joke it's about, do I know how to file my taxes or change a tire? And yes, it is those things, but it's so much more. It's this mindset where hey, I'm in charge. Sometimes you want to say, crap, we're the adults, and you realize, oh, it's me, and then that becomes not a frightening thing, but a delicious thing. Like, heck yeah, I'm in charge. I can figure this out. It's on me and I will. And then we get to the space of really figuring out who we are, what we want out of this one wild and precious life, as Mary Oliver called it. And we sit in that space of understanding, I get to decide, I get to choose. And then we hope and pray for many decades of good health, having finally figured out who we are and what we want. We just want to be that person for as long as possible.
You talk in the book about developing a horizontal relationship with your parents, that's sort of the first goal for sort of young adults leaving the home for the first time. And you tell a funny story about the moment when you first realized that you were in fact an adult now who had that horizontal relationship.
Yeah, so the horizontal relationship is in contrast to the vertical relationship where your parent is superior to you in the sense of the authority, the decider, the problem solver, the fixer, and you're subordinate to them. That's how childhood certainly begins. And then we're supposed to spend these 18 to 21 to 25 years moving that relationship from vertical to horizontal. The parents need to be focused on that, teaching their kids more skills. And the kids, as they age into adolescence, into teenage years, and into early 20s, have to be focused on, wait a minute, how can I get on a parallel with my folks where we can all have confidence that I know how to take care of business? My moment of knowing I had reached that horizontal status happened. I had just graduated from law school. back east. My husband and I were, my new husband, married 2 years, we're moving out to California for me to start with a law firm. The moving truck is taking our belongings from Massachusetts to California. We're staying with my parents on Martha's Vineyard for the week. It's going to take the moving van to travel across America. My mother's about to put dinner on the table. And I check our voicemail. This was back in the days where voicemail ruled the world. It was the mid-90s.
Remember that, kids?
Oh, children, there used to be a thing called voicemail.
Remember? Okay, voicemail. And I had a voicemail saying from Beacons, my moving van company. And they said, please call, it's urgent. So I called and I can smell the dinner mom is about to put on the table, but I call Beacons and they informed me that there has been a fire in our moving van, that our belongings, from the wedding stuff, the furniture we had bought with the money we got for our wedding and the photo albums and the love letters my husband had written me every single day that first summer we were apart, and our Jeep everything was in that van. And I get this call saying your van is on fire, and we can't tell you more because it's still smoldering its way across America. But when it arrives, you can come inspect your belongings. And I thank the lady and I hang up and I announce to the room, my dad, my mother, and my husband, basically the basics. Beacons called. There was a fire in our truck. We won't know the extent of the damage until it gets to Oakland, California. And we're to call this number in 3 days. My husband came toward me with eyes wide open with that, oh no, look on his face. He gave me this huge but quick hug. We stared at each other for a nanosecond. My parents said, oh my gosh, we're so sorry. That's awful. And they hugged us. And there was nothing in them as we sat down to dinner. There was nothing in them that said, you know what, we better take care of this for these kids. We were 25 and 26. It was on us. They knew it. We knew it. We knew this was our problem to handle. And I kind of, sort of, in some ways might have wanted someone else to take care of this big, scary, frightening, sad thing. And yet, as I say in the book, you know what? I didn't. I knew it was mine. Dan knew it was ours. And we didn't want our parents to swoop in and handle it. This was our problem that we were going to face head on, and we did. And we experienced the satisfaction of handling it. The financial the replacing the items are we spending this settlement check appropriately? Which the answer was no, we blew it.
Yeah, it happens.
And that would become a financial lesson that we would have to learn. So that was my adulting moment.
Yeah.
That was my tag you're it moment.
I think what's interesting about that is that those moments continue to happen. I'm almost 50 years old and I'm still my mom has passed away and I'm still looking around for her several times a month. Like, oh, mom, it's time to come help. But I think Amy knows I love a good metaphor. And this metaphor of the vertical to horizontal shift really makes sense to me. And let's talk a little bit about what gets in the way of that shift happening. What are the challenges in making that shift happening? And what's kind of the timeline of that shift? Is it shifting at a consistent pace from, childhood to adulthood, or are there times where it shifts kind of quickly and then stop shifting for a while?
Let me first say that the shift, I'm picturing now this metaphor, which I've never used before, or this structure, picturing it. And I'm picturing the axle in the middle as love.
Yes.
So love is always there. Okay. So we're not talking about you love your kids any less or they love you any less or more. It's not about love. It's about who's responsible for getting stuff done. Okay.
Right.
The shift is supposed to gradually take place. The minute your child is learning to walk, those of you with a 1-year-old, right? The minute your child is learning to walk, you can choose to overparent and do it for them, or try to, or you can choose to sit back, make sure they're not going to fall on a sharp object, but otherwise sit and nod and applaud and cheer them on as they fall and pull themselves back up and fall again and pull themselves back up and fall again and finally have legs that are strong enough and a core that knows how to balance itself so that they can stand however imperfectly. And you don't shout, what's wrong with you? We stand perfectly in this family. You applaud and you take a video for the grandparents. Okay. And then as they learn to go from standing to walking, what are they going to do? Are they going to be perfect? No, they're going to fall again. And if we can keep that visual in mind, evermore, every single thing they need to learn to do is theirs to learn. If we take our hands and put two little fingers under their tiny armpits to walk behind them, like hold them up as they're trying to walk so they don't fall, so they walk. That's not walking. That's us literally propping our children up to get them where they need to go. If you have young ones, this is your opportunity to get it right from the start. Unlike me, I've written this book on the harm of overparenting. I was overparenting my own kids all along, as it turns out. Okay. They're 21 and 19 now. I have a lot of things I wish I could do over. Okay. So it's supposed to be this gradual teaching. You go from complete dependency on your parents, right? Being carried in their bodies, held in their arms, to being able to stand on your own 2 feet and then walk a tiny distance and then walk more and do more with your hands and do more with your brain. And as parents, we're supposed to delight in what skill is my kid ready to learn next? Is it tying their shoes? Are they ready to start to try that? Awesome. Are they going to be perfect? Heck no. Okay. If they're stacking the donut stack toy for toddlers, it's like a pole.
Yeah. Like with inner tubes in different colors. Yeah.
If we're over-parenting, if we're keeping it too vertical, like we're going to handle it all for them, we're going to sit down there let me tell you what you're supposed to do. The toy comes and you're supposed to be like, look at this toy, kid. Isn't this amazing? And you sit down there with them and you go, ooh, the purple one. It's the biggest. Let me put it on. And you can demonstrate once, okay? Or maybe again every few days. But you must back yourself off because guess what? You do know how to stack the toy. Why? Because you are a grown-up, darn it. Okay, it's your kid's turn. And the only way they learn is by figuring it out. So you have to have the excruciating patience. And that's what parenting is. To say, you know what? I could take care of it, but I'm not gonna because it's their turn to learn. You sit down a good ways away so that you don't nudge the right colored donut toward them, so that you don't put your hand on top of their hand and carry the right colored donut to the pole.
Right.
That is over-parenting. And it applies whether they're 2 or 5 or 8 or 12 or 18 or 25. There are equivalents of these funny things I just shared at the level of, infancy and toddlerhood.
You talk in the book about, you call them life's beautiful F words, and falling is one of them. But these are the things you need to do to become an adult. This is part of adulting, right? Yeah.
Instead of approaching your child as a small dog that you're grooming to be best in breed so that you can enroll them at the Westminster Dog Show and carry that trophy home. This isn't about perfection. This isn't about performance. This is about a young human entrusted to your care by God, the universe, or however you believe we get here. And your job is to shower them with unconditional love, feed them, clothe them, shelter them, and get the heck out of their way so they can learn the various things they need to learn. And the way they learn is you invite them to participate in the work of family life. You say, we're making dinner now, and you walk toward the kitchen and your little ones will follow you. And you have the age-appropriate stool that your 3-year-old can climb on and help you. The sooner you engage them in the work of the household, and here I'm quoting the book Hunt, Gather, Parent by Micheline Duclef, which just came out, which is a perfect companion to my work, which talks about how children grow competent, skilled, confident, and are cheerful and mentally well when they're given that membership club card in the family. You belong. Come on, we're making dinner now. Not, oh, could you please maybe help me one day undo the dishwasher? No, you're like, you just declare it. We're not so good when we're overparenting. We're not so good at asking our kids to be useful to the family.
I love that idea of the membership card.
We're supposed to be. That's Micheline Duclef. I want to give credit where it's due. Her book is magnificent.
That is lovely. All right, we're going to talk more about adulting, and we will be right back.
For some of us, tax season is one of the only times that we look at our finances fully. And once it's over, well, that was terrible. And it is completely understandable not to want to think about it for another whole year. But using Monarch and being intentional with your finances in an ongoing way helps you see where your money is going and how you can put your refund to best use.
We are here to tell you, simplify your finances with Monarch. Monarch is the all-in-one personal finance tool designed to make your life easier. It brings your entire financial life, budgeting, accounts and investments, net worth, and future planning together in one dashboard on your phone or laptop.
Feel aware and in control of your finances this tax season and get 50% off your Monarch subscription with code FRESH.
As you know, my husband and I are preparing to send, 3 kids off to college, and I cannot tell you how helpful Monarch has been in showing us our full financial picture, helping us to track our spending and reach important savings milestones. Our weekly meeting, Amy, it's now run by Monarch.
Love it. Achieve your financial goals for good with Monarch, the all-in-one tool that makes money management simple.
Use code FRESH at monarch.com for half off your first year. That's 50% off at monarch.com, code FRESH.
You're listening to this podcast, so I know you've got a curious mind. Here's a helpful fact you may not know yet. Drivers who switch and save with Progressive save over $900 on average. Pop over to progressive.com, answer some questions, and you'll get a quick quote with discounts that are easy to come by. In fact, 99% of their auto customers earn at least one discount. Visit progressive.com and see if you can enjoy a little cash back. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. National average 12-month savings of $946 by new customers surveyed who saved with Progressive between June 2024 and May 2025. Potential savings will vary.
So, Julie, in your new book, which is called Your Turn, How to Be an Adult, you talk about the definition of adulting as being sort of itself problematic, that it's based on sort of markers of adulthood that were set in place like 100 years ago and which have become outdated. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, absolutely. The old markers were in this order. You are an adult when you finish your schooling, get a job, leave home, marry, and have children. And that is a very gendered, a very heteronormative, a very 20th, 19th, and 18th century view of things. Things are different now in so many good ways.
Yeah.
As I've said, adulting is really a mindset. It is, I know how to do the things, or I'm going to try to figure it out. It's, I want to. That is, I'm not interested in a vertical relationship where someone else is caretaking my every moment. I'm interested in doing for myself. And it's having to. That is to say, some of us grow up so privileged that we don't have to do anything for ourselves because there's a person or two or a whole team of people who are employed to look after us. We can have all the money in the world and lack that ability to really, at the end of the day, take care of business because we've never had to. And this is where there's this beautiful irony. People raised in more challenging socioeconomic circumstances can emerge with far greater capacity to be adults, take care of business, solve problems, make choices, cope when things go wrong. Why? Because they've had to. And I want to underscore this point for those raising young kids. Be mindful of the ways in which, if you do have socioeconomic privilege, be mindful of the ways in which you may be pampering your child's life a little too much so they don't end up kind of knowing how to do anything. They're going to be that 20-year-old who's out in college or out in the workplace who is less capable than kids who came up in a harder family circumstance. And you don't want to do that to them. Don't let your privilege make your children weak.
I want to put a finer point on this idea of adulting because it has become such almost a buzzword at this point. And you sort of see this whole thing of like, oh, these dopey millennials need to take adulting classes and learn how to fill out a checkbook. Like, we're talking about something a little bit bigger than that kind of meme form of adulting.
Absolutely. I mean, millennials created the meme and created the verb adulting. They were the first to say, I don't know how to, I don't want to, I'm scared to. And my book is most definitely for them. But you can learn how to fill out a checkbook or change a tire on a YouTube video. And so while I give a nod to those basic things in the earliest chapter of the book, I am in this more existential realm of adulting is agency. I can do the task in front of me, or darn it, I'm going to figure it out. Resilience. I can cope when things go badly. You know, I can be with my feelings and honor that and think through what I could have done differently. What have I learned? And get back up and keep going. And it's about character. There is more than me in this world. It is not just about me meeting my needs. I have to be conscious of how I interact with my fellow humans. So that's one major, although there's not, that construct isn't sort of how the book is organized. That is probably, those are the three takeaways. If you were to say, like, what are the three things you got to focus on? I would say that. But I would also say this: humans are key to our survival. So our relationships with people turn out to be the greatest predictor of our longevity. So this is now, I'm citing the book Friendship by Lydia Denworth. In her book, she bases it on scientific studies that show the people who live to be healthy into their 80s and 90s, it wasn't about their cholesterol score in their 50s. It was about the quality of their interpersonal relationships in their 50s. So this book is saying this, don't just focus on your work. Don't just focus on your salary. Don't just focus on, what you have been taught matters, like the number of followers you have, or did you make a singular noteworthy achievement? Like, no. Can you be in mutually rewarding relationship with other humans? Can people count on you? Can you count on them? Do you have someone you can call in the middle of the night? Do you have people rooting for you? Are you rooting for others? These human relationships we have turn out to be essential to our thriving, to our wellness, and to our longevity. So this book really leans into, you got to take care of the people around you and be cared for by them in return. This sort of symbiosis, we need one another. We are inherently a social species. And the more isolated we get from community, from family, due to a pandemic or due to a 21st century, which is very technologically intersected, but often, we're not making time for that just kind of casual connection with a friend sitting on a couch, or over a meal. We're too busy. And so this book is inviting us to return a little bit to those older ways where we engaged with each other more synchronously, more deeply, and more meaningfully.
You talk in the book about the false allure of the lockstep plan. This really dropped in for me because I have a senior in high school right now, and talking about what he's going to major in college. He doesn't know. One parent thinks that that's fine, and one parent is like, but if you don't major in the right thing, then how are you going to, that the next 10 steps aren't laid out yet. Can you talk a little bit about the false allure, and is that something that young adults today themselves have, or is it more that their parents have that and they don't?
So the false allure of the lockstep plan is it's false for two reasons. One, we can plan all we want, and we should. Setting plans and goals in motion is how we reach our wildest dreams. But we have to, I say in the book, we plan, God laughs. I'm citing a Yiddish phrase that's an English translation of, which is to respect the fact that so much is out of our control. And so, you think, I'm going to go to this college, I'm going to major in this, I'm going to go to this grad school, I'm going to have this job, I'm going to meet this person, and then we're going to have a kid. And so, awesome. And be respectful of the fact that so many things can get in the way. Be able to adapt and move and shift and go to plan B and plan C if plan A doesn't eventuate. The other thing is, yes, too often parents are the ones saying, oh, there is a lockstep plan. And by the way, it should look like this. In other words, they are mapping out the major, the college, the career. And I'm here as a former college dean where my job was to root for my students to find that inner voice that was saying, you know what, I'd really like to do with this life. If it was up to me, here's what I would do. I was rooting for them to let that voice be louder and louder and louder in their own heads. And another key element of this book is you are an adult when you can say to that family member, you know what? I know you love me. I love you back. I know you want the best for me. I think I have a sense of what that might be, and I need to go give it a try. Even if you don't understand it, even if you don't believe in it, even if you scoff at it, parent, it's my life. And with all due respect, I need to try to make my way. That is one of the most profound things a human can say to themselves and then out loud to the parent. And you're trying to say it in a respectful, loving way so it doesn't turn into this combative argument. But my book is full of stories of humans who have held to that, who have said, no, this is what I want. I know you don't get it. I know, but it's my life. And ultimately the deep, delicious satisfaction that comes when that human has charted their own path is so enticing that I think the more we see other people doing that, the more we want it for ourselves. And that's definitely something this book tries to offer.
And I think it's very useful reading it as a mom of kids who are probably a little younger, they're not quite ready for their turn yet. They're a little on the other side of that. I found it a very useful reminder for myself about it's difficult because not for nothing, moms kind of get a lot of grief for like, oh, you're so into how your kids turn out. Like it's a little bit of a circle where sometimes it's hard to find the winning spot. I think one takeaway for me as a mom from this book was that to keep that sort of open-heartedness towards letting your kids take over their own life and not having as much control over that is very stressful, but it also helped me to think about it as being a little freeing.
Exactly. When we feel we are responsible for getting our kid to Harvard, when we feel the praise of it, when we feel the fear of it, none of that ultimately is rooted in a very healthy place within ourselves. We're talking about peer pressure. And it was peer pressure in middle school, and it was peer pressure in high school, and it was peer pressure in our early 20s. And here we are. Thank you very much. I am still so worried about what my friend, my community, my whatever seems to think about my choices. Let me offer you this.
Yeah.
If you need your kid to be X, Y, and Z, whether it's a major or a club they get into or a college or a particular school, you need that really badly because you're worried. If they don't, then this would be a great conversation to take to a therapist. I have profound respect for the profession, and a therapist is the person to whom you can turn and say, you know what, I need these things for my kids. Let's unpack why. And working with a therapist, you will hopefully get to a place where you can say, you know what? It isn't about what my neighbors think. It isn't about what my in-laws think. It isn't about what anyone else is doing. I'm here to try to love this kid into being their best version of themselves. I'm here to teach them chores and character. They emerge out of your home knowing how to roll up their sleeves, pitch in, and do the dirty work of life. And with a solid, sterling, solid gold character, which is how they treat others and how they behave around others, that human is somebody everybody will admire. That human will be desired in the workplace. That human will make an amazing mate. And that human will ultimately make you proud, regardless of which college it was or how big a salary they earn. You're trying to raise a good human. And the best way to raise a good human is to be a good human yourself, who isn't freaked out and anxious about every little thing they do, but you're taking care of yourself and you're meeting your own needs. And it really is a back to basics approach that I hope makes people feel they can relax a little. And it's hard if you're in New York, and it's hard if you're in the Bay or LA or Dallas or Chicago or 89 other cities where everyone's stressed out of their mind about the academic performance and the perfection of their children. But you know who's learned this lesson? Families that have had some kind of setback. Someone's had a diagnosis. All of a sudden, you get real clear on what matters and what doesn't. It isn't about doing your kids' homework to get them an A, or kind of doing the super secret thing that nobody is aware you're doing to give them the advantage. You just let all that go. And you're like, you know what, so-and-so's.
Well, we keep saying, let the pandemic reset some of this for you.
Absolutely. Exactly.
Here we are, right? Let's talk a little bit more about that after the break.
At DSW, we ask the important questions, like, what shoes are you going to wear? Whether you're prepping for wedding season, festival season, or just planning the ultimate vacay, the right shoes can make or break an RSVP. So own the moment. You've got big plans, and we've got just the shoes. At the perfect price, of course. Get ready to get ready with Designer Shoe Warehouse. Head to your DSW store or DSW.com today, and let us surprise you.
Amy, when I'm having a good hair day, it usually makes my whole day better. And that's why on every day, I'm taking Nutrafol.
Nutrafol is the #1 dermatologist-recommended hair growth supplement brand. And it's the #1 hair growth supplement brand personally used by dermatologists. Nutrafol's hair growth supplements are peer-reviewed, NSF certified for sport, and clinically tested.
Nutrafol offers multiple formulas for men and women, tailored to different life stages and lifestyle factors, so you get support that's actually right for you. Adding Nutrafol to your daily routine is easy. Order online, no prescription needed, with automated deliveries and free shipping to keep you on track.
Let your hair be one less thing to worry about. See visibly thicker, stronger, faster-growing hair in 3 to 6 months with Nutrafol.
For a limited time, Nutrafol is offering our listeners $10 off your first month subscription and free shipping when you visit Nutrafol.com and enter promo code LAUGHING.
That's Nutrafol.com, spelled Nutrafol.com, promo code LAUGHING.
We're talking to Julie Lythcott-Haims. Her new book is Your Turn, How to Be an Adult. Julie, you were talking before about becoming an adult means, trying, failing, getting up again. And so as parents, when we're worried about our teenagers and young adults failing and trying and searching and fending, that is adulting. You're arguing in this book that is the act of adulting, not the job and the promotion and the pretty house on the corner, right? So we're actually getting in the way of what adulthood is, ideally, when we're trying to prevent them from searching.
Exactly. We're living their life for them. We're planning it out for them, and we're handling it when something goes awry, and we're sort of fixing and managing. And we do it from this loving place, but it ends up meaning we're sort of living their life for them. We're in the driver's seat always, and they are forever in the car seat or in the passenger seat. Even if they're 18, they're still strapped into a car seat and you've got the wheel. And we have to be tolerant of the fact that a human, not just tolerant, we have to recognize that life's lessons, the forgotten homework, the party they didn't get invited to, these are opportunities for the kid to learn, oh, gee, I need a better plan in place to remember my homework. Or emotionally, with the party they didn't get invited to, you know what? Sometimes I get excluded and that's not fair, or that hurts. And we're supposed to sit with them as they have their feelings and say, I love you and I'm sorry this happened, and let them process the feeling and then redirect them towards something that they do have control over. What are we going to make of today since you're not at that party?
I find this even with little kids, that sometimes I try to look for these opportunities. It's something I've gotten better at by thinking a lot about this. I think that this teacher is not maybe a great fit, or we're having a lot of conflict in this year of whatever, second grade, third grade, that this is actually what life is like. This is a good opportunity to confront what your life will someday look like, which is not everybody was made in a lab to make your life go smoothly.
It's the accrued lessons learned that give your child strength, resilience, a sense of, I've been through some stuff before. I'm going to be able to handle the next thing that comes. They develop the skill of how to handle the difficult situation. So that's exactly right. One of the phrases I like to use, it's not original to me, is we're not supposed to prepare the road for the child. We're supposed to prepare the child for the road. We're supposed to help them get stronger and stronger and stronger and more capable by letting them experience the various things that life will throw their way.
Just recently, I was working on the research for this episode, and it came in very handy because my senior in high school, he had to have a form filled out so he can play his spring sport. So he emailed me, this form has to be filled out so we can play the spring sport. And I wrote back to him like, okay, you're going to college in 5 months, so I want you to fill out this form. And of course, then it was like, well, I don't know how. I'm like, you let me know if you have questions, but you're going to fill it out. I forget the password, then there was all the secondary things of setting up a password and not keeping track of what it is. And now I've forgotten. Now he has to reset. And it worked out. This was a very safe place to fail and have, and it's a sport he wants to play. So he was going to get this form done. But I'm wondering if you're a parent like me, who maybe has smoothed the way to a excessive degree at times, and you want to do a reset with the time you have left with this kid who has gotten very used to somebody folding his laundry for him. How do you do that reset? Because I tend to be like, look, you think I can do it? I tend to come at it with anger, and it's not their fault.
Right. As if it's his fault, and it's not. I love that you shared that example, Amy. And I, as a college dean, I would say, bravo. There are too many parents waking their 18-year-old up for high school, and then they're going to be waking their 19-year-old up in college because they've never taught their kid that you're accountable for your own actions. Okay. And you feel like, well, it's college and it's so expensive, so I have to wake them up. Well, you were supposed to have taught them that in the 5th grade. Okay. So the reset is you say to your kid, hey, kid, I just listened to this lady on a podcast, or I just read this book, and I saw this TED talk, and it turns out, no, you say, hey, kid, I think we've been doing a little too much for you, and lovingly intended, of course. But if you're going to be ready to leave our home in 5 months or a year and a half or 3 years, whatever it may be, it's time for you to start to be responsible for more of your own things. So we're not going to go from 0 to 100. We're not going to go from doing it all for you to just abandoning you. No, we're going to teach you how to do for yourself. And so let's pick 3 things that we can start to transfer to you. Let me pause here and say there's a 4-step method. This is now not what you say to your kid, but This is for parents. There's a 4-step method for teaching any kid any skill. First, you do it for them. Then you do it with them. Then you watch them do it, and finally they can do it independently. So if you've been doing step 1, filling out all their forms, even though they're 18, and you're trying to move to step 4, they fill out their forms. Don't neglect steps 2 and 3. Okay. Step 2 is you do it with them. That's where you say, sit down with me, honey. I've always made your plane reservations. Now I'm going to teach you how to navigate these travel websites. And you say, here's what we do. And you narrate out loud. You're doing the work, but they are there and you're narrating and you're kind of saying, see, any questions, right? You're teaching. You do that enough times, you can move to step 3. You're still there for the just in case. If it's making travel plans, you don't have to literally be there because it's a laptop and them, but you might be in the kitchen. You say, like, let me know if you have any trouble. I'm here. And they can still ask you questions. Step 4 is they can make their own arrangements. They can fill out their own forms. They can figure out how to restore the password without you having to be there. So steps 2 and 3 are critical. In the driving metaphor sense, it's they're in the car seat, step 1. Step 2, they're in the passenger seat and you're driving. Step 3, they're driving. You're still in the passenger seat. Step 4, you're not in the car. They're driving. Every single skill this applies to.
Wow. That is such solid advice. Don't say we never gave you anything. That is such solid advice right there. Like, it's just such a simple way to picture.
There's a cute little cartoon on my website. Yeah, let me tell you, the Atlantic magazine did a lovely little animated cartoon of these 4 steps with my voice as the voiceover. It's on my website. So let's put that in the show notes because it's adorable and the visual really helps.
For sure. And let me tell you, this works with a 3-year-old. This works with an 8-year-old at the snack bar in the pool. Try to think of this. Is this something they might be able to do?
Absolutely. Madeline Levine, who's an amazing psychologist and author here in the Bay Area, she says, don't do what your kid can already do for themselves, what they can almost do for themselves, or what is simply just your ego need to get done on their behalf. Okay. We're supposed to be looking for the opportunities constantly for them to learn, right? And let's not be in such a rush that we have to tie their shoes until they're 8 because we were too busy to slow life down so the 3-year-old could learn to tie their shoes. Let's not be so busy that we always carry them across the street, even though they're 11. I mean, you're not carrying your 11-year-old, but if you're looking both ways as they blindly follow you, you haven't taught your kid to cross the street. Let's not be so obsessed with our own ability to do everything perfectly, like stack the dishwasher. Oh, I can do it better than they can. Well, of course you can. You're the grown-up.
That one hits a little close to home, okay? That one hits a little close to home.
I'm telling you, I've done all these things. I was cutting my 10-year-old son's meat.
Yeah.
That was my aha moment. I cut his meat. I'm telling parents at Stanford, back off of your 18-year-old. I come home and I cut the meat of my son. And that was when I was visited by Dickens's ghost of Christmas Future, who said, Julie, if you ever want this boy to be independent, you have to stop cutting his meat.
We've all been there.
Like, this is what we need to keep in mind. We're not supposed to foster a continual dependence on us. And if we need that psychologically, go get therapy, right? You've not succeeded if you've done everything for your kid. You've succeeded if your kid emerges from your house and can do for themselves, barring a significant disability where a human might need to be caretaken for the rest of their life. Barring that, our offspring are supposed to be able to thrive without us because we will be impaired, dead, and gone one day. And our job is to prepare them to be able to stand on their own 2 feet.
Let's talk about parents, caretakers, people who are working with kids who maybe are outside of the mainstream. Sometimes I think that moms of special needs kids, they sometimes feel left out of these conversations. But I actually think there's a lot in this book that speaks to people who have kids across the spectrum.
100%. This new book, Your Turn for Young Adults Struggling, really centers the fact that 1 in 2 18-year-olds has some kind of diagnosis for a learning difference or for a mental health challenge. So I am 100% normalizing, quote unquote, all human conditions. Okay. And folks who have various challenges will find, I hope, will feel seen in this book. But let me speak directly to parents of kids with special needs. I actually got to do an article for Parents Magazine some years ago about the lesson that parents raising kids with special needs learn sooner than parents raising typically developing kids, which is the respect and humility all parents should have around so much is out of our control.
Right.
How can I love the heck out of this kid and support them in being as capable as they are instead of let me micromanage this kid so that they're perfect at every single thing. Okay. The ADHD, the type 1 diabetes, these things teach us like, wow, okay, this kid's got some real stuff that they're going to contend with. How can I support this kid now and continue along the years to teach this kid to do more and more for themselves? So one day they can manage their own executive function issues, and one day they can monitor their own blood glucose.
Mm-hmm.
The type 1 diabetes community is, I think, a great example of what's changed. And I'm not maligning or dissing anybody who's supporting a kid with type 1 diabetes. The point I'm making is 30 years ago, 20 years ago, we did not have a device in our hands that would allow us to monitor someone else's blood glucose from a distance. But now we can. And so we've decided, I've got to make sure I'm always on top of my kid's situation, instead of what parents 20 and 30 and 40 years ago had to do, which was, I got to teach my kid to be responsible for themselves. Not when they're 3, not when they're 7, but you want to know when you launch your kid out into the college world, if they've got ADHD, if they've got type 1 diabetes, if they've got a situation, you hope to have raised a kid who's very aware of their situation. They've been informed. They've had the chance to learn. They've had supports and resources. They feel empowered to access resources instead of ashamed, right? That's what you want. A kid who can self-advocate, and kids who have a situation ought to emerge from our homes capable of advocating for themselves, and maybe more capable than the kid who's never really had a situation to deal with, but still doesn't know how to do very much for themselves. In other words, the disability can be the reason they learn to take care of business a little bit sooner than the more micromanaged and overheld kid. It could go either way. Yeah.
Julie, you say, and I want to make sure to make this point clear, you say that no matter what our challenge is, that we as humans are hardwired to want to accomplish stuff. So that we want our kids to be adulting, not only because they should, and that's how the world works, but because we want to do these things. We feel better as people when we are accomplishing things. We're hardwired for that.
I mean, just picture the deep satisfaction you have felt when you have planted a garden and your knees are dirty and you're sweating and you're tired, but you're like, look what I just did. Or you have built a deck on the back of your house, or you have fixed that thing that was banging on the roof, or you have made a beautiful meal. You know, we feel satisfaction when we do things with our hands and our minds and our bodies, when we exert ourselves and complete a task. We feel good. We don't want to be micromanaged in life. Overparenting is a simple term to describe the same thing as micromanagement in the workplace. How terribly dissatisfying is it if your boss is like, well, let me just handle this piece for you. You're like, stop.
Yeah.
Come on. It's my project. No, thank you. I appreciate the offer of help, but I've got this. Or the mind says, at least I want to try. The deep satisfaction comes from completion of the task ourselves, not, well, I kind of did 2/3 of it, but then this other person helped me. I mean, if we need help, yes, we want to ask for it and we want to receive it. But to be overhandled, overmanaged, overhelped contributes to this psychological malaise. It contributes to anxiety in kids and to depression. We are robbing them of that innate sense of I can cope. You know, that's what happens when we overhelp. So whether we're 8 or we're 18 or 28, 38, 48, we are yearning to make our way down this path that is ours to lay. We want to be loved and cared about along the way, but we do not want someone else to lead our life for us.
Oh, I got goosebumps.
That's so good. Julie, tell us where we can find your work on the internet and your new book.
The internet is replete with places to find my work. Thank you. My website is julielythcott-haims.com. That's my long name without the hyphen.com. All of my social handles, Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook are Lythcott-Haims. I might even get on TikTok. Who knows? And my new book, Your Turn, this compassionate beckoning to anyone struggling with adulting, is on sale everywhere books are sold in all formats. I'm here. I'm rooting for all of us to make it. And my books are all geared toward how can I participate in removing obstacles from people's paths? That's what I'm about. I believe in all of us.
Fantastic. We loved talking to you. What a great conversation. So many good takeaways.
This was so great, so helpful.
Thank you, Margaret. Thank you, Amy. I appreciate you.
Close your eyes. Listen to Monday.com. Feel the sensation of an AI work platform. So flexible and intuitive, it feels like it was built just for you. Now open your eyes, go to Monday.com, start for free, and finally breathe.